Odenkirk, as well as writer and producer Eric Kolstad.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for coming out. Awesome. This is Derek Kolstad. He wrote this.
What an honor this is to be here on a Saturday night with a sold-out movie.
You guys are the best.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to the movie theater to see a movie that's a movie.
And one more time for Bob Odenkirk and Derek Kolstad. You led me into the first question perfectly. We're sitting here on a Saturday night in the best place to watch stories, right? Like with a communal experience, with an audience. You know, we're strangers, but we're all universally connecting to the themes and the storyline and cheering and laughing. And I think that the theatrical experience is such an important thing for our lives, the community of it, leaving, talking about movies afterwards. For each of you growing up, do you remember a specific pivotal theatrical that you remember where you were, who you were with, and what that meant to you in understanding the experience of movies?
Well, I remember seeing Rio Lobo
Oh, wow.
in the theater.
Nice.
That was great, but really the one that affected me the most was American Graffiti when it came out. And I just want to say one, and you and I spoke about this briefly when we were watching because I came early to watch the end, because it's also, this movie makes me so happy. And that last 10 minutes is just the fucking best. But one thing that I noticed about a big group of people watching this movie is that, you know, we were talking about how the tone shifts so much in the movie. There's like drama, pure drama scenes in the first half, and then it's, at a certain point, it's a zombie movie. And then it's a John Woo film, and then it's a horror film. And then, you know, and when you're in a big group, I think that you can get so that you're watching one kind of film, and then a person over here laughs, and you go like, oh, I see, oh yeah, oh right, he's right, it's this kind of film. You know, like it helps you see the way this thing changes. What do you think about my theory?
I love that because it's kind of like one of those things where when you talk about my favorite movies I went to as a kid, I went to opening night of Predator when I was 12. It was the first R-rated movie I saw, and I still remember when the Predator takes off his mask. I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, this could be shit." And then you saw the mandibles, and the whole audience just went, "What the fuck?" And I think what I love about the movies we've done together and the movies that we comp on this one, the movies we love, everything's a love letter to these, in the hopes that, you know, even with that opening scene, when I showed this in Madison, where I'm from, last week, you have the Yakuza, and then it's normal, and then it's Bob in the car, you know, driving, and then the country music, and across the aisle from me is this 80-year-old woman, and she just goes, "What is happening?"
Yeah, it's like a different movie ended, and then this one started.
I gotta say, one of the coolest things just now, Bob and I were standing there for the past 15 minutes watching the end of the film while you all were enjoying it. I loved how enthusiastic and happy you were to be speaking about it and watching it. I know some actors sometimes don't want to watch their work.
Well, I don't always feel that way. Everything I do.
But it was actually really kind of cool and like sweet in a way where I was like, wow, this is amazing that you're watching your own movie with a sold out crowd.
Yeah.
What does that feel like to watch yourself?
Well, usually you're really tense, and I've never made a movie. I'm super proud of Nobody. I'm super proud of Nobody too, which is a lot of work. I'm proud of how we all contributed there. But this one is such, now that you've seen it, you'd be like, see it again, you'd be like, oh, this part is dramatic and it's great. It's really well written. And now what? Just shut up, because now it's going to become a bank robbery. Now it's Dog Day Afternoon. Okay, now shut up, because now it's a horror film.
Bad Day of Black Rock.
You can look forward to those shifts instead of being like, wait, I have to reorient myself every 8 minutes in this film. You can just sit back and go like, I can't wait till it's a horror film again. and like I'll tell you the truth, I don't see a lot of horror movies. Like I saw Weapons and I enjoyed it. My daughter took me to it. She sees a lot of horror films. I don't go to them ever. So like the knitting needle death in this was like, for me, a little much the first time I saw it. Now I can enjoy it as a crazy movie death. That feels like a horror film in the middle of this movie that has all these other flavors. But initially, I mean, I still loved it, but I like it more now. Now that I watch it more, I'm like anticipating the shifts in tone. I'm able to just smile at how it shifts around, and no, I don't know. I just fucking love it. I just love watching this thing, and every time I watch it, I love it more. And every time I watch it with an audience, I love it more. And you know, I think I'm not as experienced a film goer as probably a lot of you and you, for sure. I mean, I spent my time thinking about sketch comedy. That was my whole life. So I just didn't see a lot of movies.
What I loved about this too is when I see Ben and Bob and Mark quite a bit here for the past 6 weeks with the press, I'm so happy to see them. I can't wait to hang out with them just as friends, you know? And when I watch the movie, the number of times you see a scene and everyone chuckles, and there's a part of me that goes, do you know how much of a nightmare it was to get that stupid scene, you know? But the thing that I love about a good movie is, in this one, my favorite, I'm a huge fan of Final Destination, man. So,
Dude, what's your favorite one?
it's the bank manager.
Yeah.
It's when he goes for the pistol and he trips and falls and shoots him. Every time I chuckle, you know? But ultimately, we had fun here. And within the first 30 seconds, especially with the guy who doesn't cut his finger off, you kind of realize, guys, it's okay to laugh. It's fun here. You know?
But then it gets serious for a while, and I'm thankful that so many people do know movies like Derek and Ben. And by the way, Derek and Ben, I wish Ben was here, but Ben's at another theater right now answering questions.
Ben Wheatley.
Yeah, Ben Wheatley, the director. But these guys are very similar in their love of film and love of genre and the way in which this film celebrates so many different kinds of movies. They both are on the same page with that.
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of cinema, because like you and I were standing there, I love this movie Bad Day of Black Rock, and I'm immediately seeing that. I'm seeing Hitchcock homages. I'm seeing,
Yeah.
And like the beauty of it is, in modern audiences, if they see it, they're gonna go back and find those classics and kind of figure out where those.
You guys want to tell them what Bad Day at Black Rock is, because you guys always
This is-
reference that
I know,
movie.
it's like.
And now you love it. It's
Start-
an old
Sturgis.
movie.
Yeah, it's Spencer Tracy, and it's a guy looking for his friend that's gone missing, and he shows up in this small town. And it's quite obvious that something has gone on and everyone's in on it. And it's quite obvious that Spencer Tracy knows. But it's just a really cool, brooding, really awesome vista shots. And you know, when I wrote this originally, was thinking of that. I fucking love Hot Fuzz. I love, and then the other one too is like, this is where it gets weird. Three Amigos, and The Funny Farm, and Stepford Wives, and you know, suddenly you put them all in the blender and go, is this gonna taste any good? You know, and ultimately with a guy like Bob and a guy like Ben, you craft it in such a way that you render it down to the core basics, and that's what gave us normal.
Yeah, I mean it's really amazing. Like, and if you haven't seen Bad Day at Black Rock, it's on the Criterion Channel app now, and they have the Sturgis commentary on there, which is really cool.
I haven't watched that yet.
Dude, it'll blow your mind. All right, I want to talk about physicality. Bob, you're one of the best actors working today, genuinely. And there's a way that you, and I really mean this, the way you carry yourself as characters. You look at Saul, he carries himself differently than Hutch. He carries himself differently than Ulysses. And one of the things I find really interesting about physicality is that constant thing that you might have that helps you find your way into a character. When we first meet him in the movie, he's drinking his coffee, he has his mustache, he has a red Solo cup at one point, he's always holding something in the beginning of the film. Can you talk about how you find the way your character is going to move through life, and kind of like, is there a consistency for each one, like shoes or makeup or costume that you rely on?
I do rely on costumes and looks. You know, when you think of a character, and Saul, when I did Saul, I mean, I was literally looking at the script. I had just read it, and I got on the phone with Vince, and I said, I think he's got a comb over, or he's got a mullet, and he's got clean on the sides, and a comb over as well. All of those things are going on. He was like, great. But
You came up with that yourself, like by
yeah.
Wow.
And the mustache here, you know, I know I did Fargo, and people are going to compare it, but what can I do? This guy has a mustache. He's got to have one. He's got to have it. And I think the internal story that Derek, and the reason I have a story by credit on this is because I worked on the first third of it with Derek, which is all the backstory of this guy and why he, even though he's looking at the previous sheriff's death certificate, and even though already he's like, something's not right here, he puts it away. He just doesn't want to look at it. Why is he not wanting to see what he can see? He goes to the house, there's all this fucking rich, expensive booze. He took these trips, he went to Japan. Why is he, what small town sheriff in Minnesota is flying to Japan all the time? You know, and my guy is seeing it and knowing it and not wanting to see it. So why is he not wanting to see it? And then we talked about that story, and I got to contribute to all that backstory, and that's why. And so then it becomes a guy who's very internal, very locked down, kind of moves slow, he's just a little removed from his world. He's sort of not, he's like experiencing everything around him from like a step hidden back in his head, and then that becomes all that physicality and everything about him, and how kind of quiet he is and how slow he moves and where his eyes are. You know, he's kind of looking down all the time, and yeah. So physicality is everything. When I did Saul, I would listen to Oasis, and it was all about swagger. I would do Robert Evans' voice in the trailer. So it's voices, it's music, songs that you hear as your soundtrack of this guy. It all builds a person with a weird aura around them that you build, that they walk through life with. And then in this film, he's forced to break out of that. He's forced to step up and engage with the world and look people in the eye and tell them what we're going to do, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and I'm taking charge now. But before that, he's just watching and kind of in a bubble.
So interesting. I love the little details like that because you feel all those decisions as an audience. Derek, you write action beautifully, and I think some of the things that sometimes in action people think, oh, let's just do it in a cool action scene. It has to service the narrative. Has to serve as a story. You can learn a lot about your character by watching him fight. Like you watch the bus fight, Nobody. You learn a lot about Hutch in that moment. You really do. Action is something that's fascinating. Can you talk about the way you write action in a screenplay? And like, are all the hits and the gunshots within those moments in the sense of like how you build a narrative to push the narrative forward with action?
You know, it's our favorite action movies just happen to be good movies with good action.
Yeah.
You know, if you set out to do a good action movie, you're doing it wrong. And the way I look at it is, within the first 5 minutes of Raiders of the Lost Ark, you fucking love Indiana Jones. You know, when you're introduced to all the characters that we love, it's that. And you know, I love John McClane and John Rambo, and the reason we love them is they're not the best. They have will and they have empathy. They get up. And I'll credit what I'm about to say to, I've had a couple of very long conversations with Jet Li, and I'm a huge martial arts fan. I used to say Kung Fu fan, and he kept correcting me. But we would talk about how action is an extension of the hero's journey, and that the way that he fights, it's part of his narrative, you know? But on the page, when I write it, it's kind of a 3-act structure. You know, the first couple of hits, first couple of kills are very detailed. And then if you look at the screenplay, it's weird because I'll center, I'll bold, I'll underline and go, each gives as good as they get, death by 1,000 cuts, you know, and just kind of like go and kind of do the broad, and then I bring it back together going, here's the last couple of hits, and then you want to end with an exclamation point. Now the thing about when I write action, I get really giddy when I see something I wrote in the original script in the movie. But when I write the script, it's for Bob, it's for Ben, it's for Mark, it's for people to enjoy it. But once it goes to the second unit guys, the stunt guys, it's them reading this and me going, dude, do your thing. But see the sense, the feel, the appeal. And a lot of times on set, I like hanging out with them and just chuckling over what they're doing.
For me, I like to see what Derek's written, think about like each fight has to have like some character or a journey in it, or in the case of the kitchen fight here, the gun that they're both trying to get a hold of through the whole fight, and then somebody's got to get a hold of that gun, not me, and it's got to go off, and yet he can't just shoot me in the head because then we're done. And so it's tricks and like problems that you have to solve, and that last fight, it's the kind of fighting I like to do with this one-on-one, or what I did in the bus fight in Nobody, which is my favorite kind of screen fighting. Guns are fine, but I'd rather do fighting. And
Straw
and it's just
always gets
bludgeony stuff. Yeah, and the other thing is that I always like to make sure that my character's still, well, it's weird to say alive. I don't mean actually alive. I mean like his personality is still evident. Like you can see it in his face, how he's feeling, scared, worried, determined, in pain. Very often.
Like the straw scene in Nobody,
Yeah.
you could see him, he's frustrated. He's like, I gotta keep this guy alive. And
Yeah.
As soon as he hits him, and that's what I love about that scene, is as soon as he hits him, he's like, just crushed his throat. And he's just like, oh. But the cool thing about writing the Nobody bus scene was Bob and I and Ilya, the director, going back and forth, and Bob coming up with the fact that he's rusty. And so it's kind of like making sure that he's shrugging off the rust. And then when he's thrown through the window and walks back on, and it's Daniel Bernhardt, who's our, rabbit's foot with the plucked up teeth, that goes, oh, come on, man. And then he's just a fluid machine. But the difference between a Hutch from Nobody is he runs into a burning building. Ulysses stands there for a long time going, it's fine. And then you'll hear screaming go, fine, And ultimately, when you look at action in these things, I love that it's Bob. As soon as the camera's behind an actor's head, you know it's not them.
Yeah, I do my own fighting, and I love doing it. It's so much fun. Ulysses is it's all in that line. What's wrong with you people? Like he's like, what the fuck? Just be normal, and I don't have to do any of this, and nothing happens, and I leave in 6 weeks, and that's what I want. I don't want to get engaged with any of this shit. Super fun to do the on-screen fighting, and each character is different. And that last fight's an interesting one because the Yakuza guy is really a true believer, which is a kind of a revelation that's who he realizes who he is he's gonna fight. That's his team. He's on Team Yakuza, not on our team. And I realized this guy's not gonna quit. He's not gonna stop. He's not a bad guy he's gotten caught. He's gonna go until he takes everything out and gets back home. And he's fighting for that pure belief. So I have to go all the way.
Derek, with you writing John Wick 1, 2, and 3, obviously with Nobody 1 and 2 now with this film, I want to make a connection to animals, because I think animals are a really interesting vehicle into understanding who a character is and who that. Even in this movie, when he goes over to the car to tap on the dog's barking, there's a humanity to that. And obviously with John Wick, of course, that the entire story is based around the character's dog being killed and then him going after people. So like, animals are such an interesting vehicle into character, I would imagine. I was wondering if you could each speak to that. I mean, Bob, first maybe just the idea of what...
My dog's named Olive.
What does an animal give you in terms of a performance?
Well, I mean, I love the dog in this. I love that the bank robber couple have a dog. They're such hapless bank robbers. They shouldn't be robbing banks. They're like really sympathetic people who made just the worst choice ever. And the dog that they love, and I love that line in the ball. Did you find food for Olive? It's like, it's such something that I would do. Like I would remember that she was looking for dog food, and I would hope that she found that, and then I would see her and ask that. Even amidst all that, you'd be like, oh wait, did you get? It's just so great. And then it makes the other guy, Keith, played by Brendan, what the fuck is going on? But dogs and animals, they let the character show a side of themselves. You know, I mean, obviously most people are sympathetic and show a softer side of themselves around animals. They just do, and even bad people can do that. Now, people who don't are truly bad. So, but it's just a place to show humanity, and it's a way into a human that's a side way in. That isn't about their interaction with the world or other people. It's just a place where people feel safe to show a softness that I think they don't. You know, we go through life, we get our asses kicked, we build up a shield, and animals are still a place where even people who've got a pretty thick shield can find a way out or around that. And so they work wonderfully that way. And in this case, this animal does that for everybody. It tells the audience that they're really just good people at heart, and they've made a stupid choice, a really dumb choice.
It plays into this idea too that it's almost harder to watch an animal get hurt on screen than it is watch a human sometimes. Like even in that bank scene, like I'm worried about like the guns going off and the dog being in the car more than I am with the people in the scene in a way.
The number of these screenings where people are talking or the movie begins that I've had to say, I reach over going, I only killed the dog once, man. The dog's gonna be fine. And you know, ultimately too, I grew up all my uncles and aunts are on farms, and like just animals know you know, like there is this element of fear, there's this element of charisma, false bravado, but you know, I do love that you don't see an animal for 4 or 5 years and it comes at you barking, smells you and goes, oh fuck Derek, hey, you know, and ultimately that's why we like working with them, but it ain't easy on those days you're shooting with an animal, but it's still awesome for the film.
I also think that there's a big leap. Obviously, this guy, Ulysses, decides to walk into a bank robbery and talk to people. But his first thought is, I think that's those two people who I saw earlier. They seem desperate. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. And then that animal is this not working?
It's on.
Oh.
Oh. You're back on now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And so he just needs some reasons why he would think I could talk to them. So beyond the fact that he sees their truck, he sees the dog, he kind of knows it's them. Then he approaches. If you remember, he walks up there first so he can see in, and then he sees their truck, and then he sees their dog, and then he's like, it's them. And then as he gets closer slowly, he sees that it is actually them. And I just love that moment with Rena Jolly is her name, the woman who played Lori, the bank robber. She did not show up here because she couldn't fly down for our premiere. I'm only telling you, there's some wonderful actors in here who are mostly Canadian actors from Vancouver, some from Toronto. Holy shit, did they do a great job. Rena Jolly, who played the female bank robber, how great is she? How great is that moment if you can remember it, where she's looking at me, she's doing CPR, and she looks at me and I look at her, and then her whole body just slumps like, oh, I'm so fucked. And it's just beautiful. And god damn, and then Takahiro Inoue, who plays the Oyabun, which is a godfather, a Yakuza godfather. Takahiro Inoue, wasn't he fucking great? That guy is so mad. He's always so mad. He's mad at everybody the whole time. And Peter Shinkota, who I fight with at the end, wonderful actor as well. I'm just surrounded by great. How about the guy? I don't even know his name in the opening, who does the finger thing with the crazy look on his face and the big smile.
This is literally what we were doing over there on the side.
I don't know. I should look up his name, but I wasn't there for that day, and I never met him. But man, he's good.
I would argue that throughout the film, obviously your characters like he doesn't really know who he is anymore, obviously. And
Yeah.
and there's that element of when we reveal the full twist of what really happened in the past. He's clearly he's grappling with that
Yeah.
that trauma. And that self-discovery is interesting to me because as an actor, you get to live the life of someone you're not. When you get to view the world through their eyes.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that there is some self-discovery. That
Oh,
comes
I
from
relate more to
performance.
this guy than any character I've played.
Why? So what did he give you and why?
Well, I'm gonna say some bullshit, profound things now.
Go, man.
I'm 63. He's probably 63. You go through life, you get bounced around, punched in the head a couple 100 times, and you end up either impacted so that you absolutely know what you believe and you know it's true and you're angry at the world for not agreeing with you. And it's like a weird hard rock that can never be broken or changed. Or you end up like Ulysses, where you're like, I don't know anything anymore. Everything I thought I knew has been proven wrong at one point or another. Every way in which I was confident about myself has been proven right and then proven wrong. So I don't know what's right. I don't know if I trust my own judgment. And both choices are, extreme, the truth is somewhere in the middle, as usual. And in this case, Ulysses is this guy who's just off balance, and then he gets stuck in a corner, and it's not his choice. You got to make a choice now. You don't get to sit there and go, I'll just recede, I'll just back up, I'll just hide in the corner, I'll just watch you all fight it out. He's got no choice. He's got to pick up the gun and try to get the fuck out of that bank with the whole town outside. And it's a little statement about you can't live in that space forever of just being unsure of yourself. I think it's worse. I think it's a worse thing to think you know everything and be rock solid, sure of yourself because of your age and your experience. I think it's worse to be that, but this is hard too. That's all my psychology about this guy, and I love doing it, and I love playing it, and I hope I didn't waste your time talking about it.
No,
It sounds cathartic. Yeah, it is. I mean, the truth is, I had 2 break-ins in my home, and that was part of the story I told Derek, which then he went and wrote Nobody. And I said, man, I'd love a shot at those guys. Both of them. And that's what I'm doing on the bus, is taking my swings at those fucking guys. And
in this movie, then, what are you working on?
No, I got it out of me. I really did. In this movie, it's just, the psychology I just shared with you of like, sometimes the world fucks with you to a point where you're like, God damn it. I'm just gonna push back. And so, I don't know. These are all heightened, conceptualized, fables at some point. They become that. One thing I would relate to you about all the Nobody films, the 2 Nobody films, and this film is, as best they can, they try to start in the real world with extremely grounded, conversational, and believable moments. And then, thanks to the gifts that Derek has of imagination and filmmaking understanding, they launch into a mythic realm. They by the end of the film, you are living in a magical world where crazy shit happens, and that would never, no one would survive it, and that's fun. It's fun to go there because you can only go there here. You can't go there in the real world. So, but for me, I like living in the real world for a chunk of time, so that you like these people, you feel for them, you like and understand the emotional complexities that they may have that then get transmuted into superhero behaviors in the last 40 minutes and get acted out and cathartically played out by what you can only do in a movie and in a story. So that's true of all those films. Now, a lot of action movies, I would say, don't really, they hardly touch on the real world. Like, they get so much credit. If some small thing happens to James Bond that feels like the real world, you're like, holy shit, can you believe that? They did one thing that felt like real life and everything else. But also you go to those movies to live in the fantasy world. So I don't know, I'm making these films, and I hope I get to make more that try to do this transformational thing and start, almost you could say, almost feels like an independent movie, like Nobody, that first, everything up until the bus, that could be a story about a couple and a family that just has this bad thing happen, and then they just fall apart, get divorced, and it becomes all about, Richard Linklater film, which they're great, but it could be that, but then Russian mobsters break in. So, and he even says, please God, which is Deus Ex Machina, he actually asks God to make them magically evil people. To some extent, that's happening there. But in this film, and please don't tell everybody what happens, but at some point everyone will know, we blow up the Fonz. And from that point on, we are living in a crazy world. But the bank robbery is a bank robbery, and could happen, but then from that point on, then now and then again, I'll just say what I said at the beginning. Watching with a big audience, what's great about it is I know myself, when I watch this film for the first time, I get lulled into the sort of independent film half hour of the first part, and then it's a little hard for me to jerk myself up into the film magic. And then I see people laughing around me who've seen a lot of horror films, and I go, oh, whoa, that's where we are now. Now we're there. Now we get to enjoy that ride. So I need that little clue or cue that I get from other people who have seen a lot more movies than I have.
Dude, we both loved Henry. I mean, he's an absolute delight. And my favorite thing is we did an interview on Friday with Sirius XM, and she asked Henry, how was the experience? It was excellent. I can't wait to be in the sequel.
That's pretty funny, actually. I love Henry. All right, so I do have to wrap this up. Two things for you all. This is opening weekend, and it's really special because we're all here together. If you get a chance, it's also playing in 35 millimeter at the Vista. They struck film prints for this, which is really, really cool. So please get a chance out to check it out there as well if you want to see it on film.
Most of all, this movie was made independently. We don't have the kind of promo budget that a studio film has. You may be well aware of that from the complete lack of billboards or anything outside of social media, which we've deluged, because what else can we do? But it is a movie to see with other people. It's funner in a big group. And it's a weird thing to say, and I wish I wasn't saying it, but it's a weird thing that this is exactly the kind of movie that hasn't been made in years. And I sort of don't know why. I think that some wonderful stuff has happened in the horror genre space, which has brought it sort of back to life and brought theaters back to life, which I think is wonderful. But in this space, which is action, you either have gigantic Mission Impossibles, or you just have nothing, or straight to video stuff. Nobody's tried to make a somewhat more rewarding, complex human story that becomes action that we used to have more of, a lot more of. And so when people lament what's not in theaters or what is unavailable, part of it is the studios stopped making them. And so maybe we can revive it a little, just as horror has been revived.
I agree. That's what you all are doing here. So thank you so much.
People about it. We liked it. Thank you.
And everyone, please stay seated. And Bob and Derek can get out of here. But thank you guys so much for coming out.
You guys are so sweet. I'm gonna say 2 things. Oh, can I say something? What do you have?